Pull up a chair and get comfortable. It's time to talk about your federal benefits. Federal Employee Benefit Coordinators presents the FEBC Podcast with Elizabeth Inman and Bryan Fentress.
Hello, hello. I'm Elizabeth Inman here, your Federal Employee Benefit Coordinator, and we're on our new format for the video podcasts. I'm so excited about being able to bring this to you in video format. Now, also on your favorite podcast, it'll always be posted just like it always has been, but we're adding the video podcasts as well. And you know, I've already made the announcement a couple of times, coming very, very soon, Bryan Fentress will be joining me. So it will be co-hosted as well. So this is our deal. We know your time is valuable. We want to take just as little bit of time as possible to bring you some of the most valuable information you need as a federal or postal employee. So we're going to honor your time. We're going to move quickly. We're going to talk about very, very succinct topics that affects you as a federal and postal employee. But we want it to be relaxed. We want to have fun with it. Just grab a cup of coffee, sit back in your favorite chair, turn on the air conditioner if you're in your car listening over your lunch break, and let's just have a good time together. I want to answer your questions. Send me what information you want to know. What questions do you have? And send it to me at elizabeth@febcnow.com. So each time I'd like to have a question from you that I address. But we'll have lots of good stuff. As you know, we're going to have some guests coming up too. Blue Cross Blue Shield, GEHA, and I've got a few surprises up my belt. But today, let's get started with what I've got to bring you today. I'm going to start off with one of those questions. It's a question from one of our listeners who is unfortunately going through a divorce, and they want to know if they can actually have their retirement annuity garnished from a divorce decree. Well, the answer to that, the technical answer, and then I'll bring it home for us, is Title V of the U.S. Code, Section 8345 prohibits garnishments against an annuity of a federal employee based on divorce, separation, even a court order that's a result of child abuse. So that's good news, but you still have to provide the court documents if indeed you go through a divorce and that divorce decree entitles your ex to a portion of your annuity settlement. So if you got questions about that, just contact us. We'll let you know. But that was a specific question about garnishment. And it's a good one, by the way, because that's not a topic that gets brought up a lot. Now, I also want to bring up some of the updates about this TSP. You know, 6 months ago, we went through the biggest overhaul of our TSP we've ever had before. And it wasn't easy, and it wasn't without its problems. So there's been significant changes, significant upgrades, and significant improvements in the TSP experience. But unfortunately, it's still not all fixed. They do have like an 86% customer satisfaction rating now. That's up significantly. But you still might find a few things that need some tweaking inside of your TSP. Don't forget to go check your beneficiary arrangements. That was a biggie. And you should have a much better experience calling TSP now because they've got their wait times down substantially. Now, there are some individual pockets of folks that's still reporting to us that they were on hold for 45 minutes to an hour waiting on TSP to answer. But overall, it is much, much better. Now, I've actually had some folks have some struggles with the withdrawal side of things. You would think everything going online would make that easier, simpler, and faster. And for the most part, that's the case, but we still have individual things that happen. For instance, we had a client that was sitting at my computer, logging into their TSP to start the withdrawal process, and they were actually going to do a transfer, a like-for-like transfer, a 401k type TSP transfer into a traditional IRA, which means that's not a taxable event, right? So I'm sitting there with them. They log into the computer, click the buttons, get ready to hit submit, and all of a sudden it shows that they're going to withhold 20% taxes. So we looked at each other and decided, well, we missed something, right? So we backed out, started all over again, did it a second time, and it still said the same thing. And it's like, wow, where are we missing that little box to check that makes this a transfer into a traditional IRA? Because that's what would trigger a 20% taxation, not listing it as a traditional IRA, correct? So we did this like 3, 4, 5 times. And it was only after we repeatedly did the same thing over and over and over again that finally it cleared up and the transfer went through without taxation. It's just one example that I personally have experienced with some TSP clients that actually took place sitting in my office. So they're going to continue to make tweaks. They're reporting what some of those tweaks are. We'll bring you those updates periodically right here on the FEBC Now podcast. Happy to do that. Have any of y'all heard the latest news about the WEP and GPO? That's Windfall Elimination Program and the government pension offset. Oh yeah. 10 years ago, when I first started my second career doing what I'm doing as a federal benefit coordinator, it was kind of like, that'll never get approved. And then a couple of things happened a few years later. I thought, there's a glimmer of hope. And then in the last 4 years, I've just told everybody, I doubt that it's going to happen. I just doubt it. We have less than 1% of our employees that are civil service employees anyway. Well, guess what? We now have that bill being introduced again to the new Congress, and it's picking up momentum. So they have to have something like 290 co-sponsors of this bill for it to even get considered. And we're already up to, let me get my numbers straight, 305 co-sponsors. You know what, guys? I don't have a crystal ball. I can't tell you for sure what's going to happen with this, but it looks like that bill's going to go through. Stay tuned. We'll keep you posted. This is the kind of information we want to share with you guys. Stuff that really impacts you. Well, talking about impacting you, a lot of my listeners are going to remember back a little over a year ago how excited I got when the number of TSP millionaires went over 100,000. That's right, over 100,000 TSP millionaires. Folks that are currently invested in TSP went over 100,000. But how many of y'all know last year wasn't a good year when it comes to the markets, when it comes to the C fund, the F fund, the S fund? Tough year. L funds, tough year. Well, I've got some numbers that are pretty disappointing, but I think you guys ought to know this stuff. That number of TSP millionaires continues to dwindle. It's gone down significantly. There's only approximately 65,000 TSP millionaires now. That's a big decrease. In fact, that's easy math. 100,000 before, 65,000 now. That means there's been a decrease of 35% of TSP millionaires. Wow. That's just staggering. But anyway, hopefully that's going to change soon. There's, last month was a good month for TSP. That's one of the things we'll keep you updated on. How is the TSP going? What's happening inside of the TSP? And don't forget, we have that ebook available on our website, www.febcnow.com. And you just click on the button for the TSP Millionaire ebook, and it's yours. I personally think every federal employee in America ought to have that ebook. I tell the story all the time how I got started. I worked my way up in the Postal Service all the way up to an EAS 26. And not one time in my nearly 24-year career did I ever stop and think that I might be a TSP millionaire. And quite frankly, reaching the EAS level 26 status, I should have been a TSP millionaire. Where was that book when I needed it? Well, it's available for you today, and there isn't anything that would tickle me any more than for you to be the next TSP millionaire. So log on to our website and grab that, and because it can make a big difference. I mean, even if you don't reach that millionaire status, it's really not about that. We call it the TSP Millionaire, but it's about what can you do to make your stance better with your TSP. It's 1/3 of your retirement, for crying out loud. So anyway, excited to have that ebook available to you, excited to be doing these podcasts for you, bringing lots of good information to you. I can't wait till Bryan comes on. In case you didn't know, he is my youngest son. Now, when he comes in, you're going to see he hovers over me. He's a whopping 6'4", strapping of a man, that's for sure. Kind of lords over his mama at times, but we kind of have some good fun back and forth with each other. You'll see. I think it'll be very, very fun for you, make things, kind of liven things up a little bit. We're also in future podcasts going to cover things very thoroughly, like Secure Act 1.0 and the most recent Secure Act 2.0. Sweeping changes that has made a big difference for federal and postal employees. You'll want to stay tuned for those podcasts. We're going to continue with our what we're calling the new TSP, brand new TSP updates, so that you stay informed on what's going on there. Of course, legislation is always a biggie for us federal employees. You know, back in the day, I used to tell people all the time, oh, don't worry about your benefits. They're never going to change them because it's got to go through all of the unions, has to get passed through the unions, professional organizations. Well, unfortunately, that hasn't been the case in the recent past. They decide they want to make changes in your benefits, they're going to make changes in your benefits. So we got to stay up on that. You know, postal reform just passed. We're going to be talking about postal reform, how that's going to impact you. You've got this year to prepare as they start giving out information on postal reform, because in 2024, guess what's going to be a part of the new open season for health benefits? That's right, the Postal Service Employee Health Benefit System, brand spanking new system. So get ready. We're going to be bringing you updates on that as well. And then don't forget, I want your questions. Email them to me, elizabeth@febcnow.com. I'd love to have at least one question from you on every podcast, where we take information that's relevant to you, your situation, and we give you answers here on our podcast. So I also want to tell you things that we're seeing. For instance, what happened when we helped one of the federal employees make a withdrawal from their TSP. Things that happen in real life with folks coming into our offices, talking to us about their federal benefits, talking to us about their federal retirement planning, putting together a strategic federal retirement plan. We'll talk about real life things that are happening with those. And then, of course, the retirement planning itself, how to get ready. I'll give you a little secret. Bryan and I are going to talk about a very sensitive topic coming up. It's going to be all centered around FEGLI Option B in retirement. Things that we don't believe is easy to find out. Things that, quite frankly, for a long time, I didn't know about. I never knew about it the whole almost 24 years I worked. And then most of the last 12 and a half years, I didn't know about it. All of a sudden, through a series of events that happened, we learned brand new information on what really happens in retirement with your option B. Stay tuned. We're going to talk about that too. We're going to talk about some Social Security stuff. We just have a whole array of topics coming up in the near future on these new video podcasts. So grab your coffee and join us each week. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to tell your friends about it. We're looking forward for this podcast to grow and grow and grow, and more information can be in your hands to help you have the best retirement experience.
Thanks for listening today to the FEBC podcast with Elizabeth Inman and Bryan Fentress. If you would like more information about the topic discussed today, or if you have a subject that you would like us to cover on a future podcast, send us an email or give us a call. We're passionate about helping you maximize your federal retirement. Thanks.